this statement. How can you fix the lighted candle to the wall without the wax dripping onto the table? If this statement is given, very few people were able to solve this problem. When the same problem, the solution for this is something like this. They have removed these pens and kept here. Sorry?
Sorry for interruption.
Yeah.
Please present your screen once again.
Okay.
Somebody has interrupted that one.
Okay. Okay. Sure. I will do that.
Slide please.
Is it visible now, Viresh?
Yes.
Okay. So the solution for this one is something like this. So where they have removed the pins and kept it outside and lighted the candle and they applied it onto the wall like this so that the wax will not drip onto the table. So the interesting thing here, what to note is that the same problem has been repeated again in different parts of the world, but the problem statement is slightly changed. What it means is that if I go to the next slide, the same problem has been given, but in this case, what happens? These pins are not kept inside this box. They have been kept outside. When the same problem is given like this, the number of people who solve this problem has been considerable increase. The percentage of the people who solved this problem has been increased multifold. So what happens here is that if you go to the previous slide, if you see here, the moment you have the pins inside this box, we begin to think the functional fixedness come into picture, and we begin to think that this tray or this box is only for keeping the pins. But when the same problem is given one more time, when the pins are outside, then suddenly what happens? That functional fixedness will go away, and we will use that box for keeping the candle. So this is called functional fixedness, and this week, if you observe a little more carefully in day-to-day life, we do this much more than what we are thinking right now. If you observe on your own, then we will see it. So here is another example. So the question here is, there are two metal rings. You need to join them together. I will say only the word join. The meaning of join you can derive it later, the way you want. So many people will say how with the available resource, a candle, lighted candle, and then the matchsticks. Many people will say that we will keep one ring over the above of this one, and we will drip the candle onto this so that there will be a joint between those two. So it is a joint, there is no problem, but the thing is the strength of the joint is very small. And some may go and say that we will melt that, but it's not possible to melt with only the candle light, because the temperature required for this one is much higher than what it can give in this moment. So the solution for this exists. So here again, functional fixedness is in our mind. Can anybody answer for this question? How do you join two rings? Okay, so I will tell the one of the solution. If anybody is there, I will be happy to hear.
Join.
Sorry, I am not able to hear anything. So I will go ahead with the solution. What we again, the functional fixedness, what we can see here is that candle is burning means it has to be lighted only. So that is the functional fixedness. And if you observe, if you switch off this, turn off this candle, and there is a thread inside the candle, you can take that thread and tie together. That is also one of the joining process, right? So functional or this fixedness comes into our day-to-day activities or in the innovation process so many times that we have to carefully, consciously observe that one. When we begin to observe that one, definitely automatically the number of solutions we come to a problem will increase, and that will lead to a better innovations that we are doing. So here were some examples where somebody is using a hair dryer for drying the clothes. This is the how they are breaking the functional fixedness. So they are not using it for only hair, but for the drying of the clothes. So somebody is using the mobile phone for their acting as a mirror, right? So many people do this one. So this is breaking some of the functional fixedness. Okay, so coming back to our main objective, like we know that what we have to do, how to do, and all those things, but what is the logical process? How do we come up with the new ideas? Why some people come up with so many new ideas in the product development or the services they provide? So in this book, inside the box, they have highlighted 5 important techniques called subtraction, task unification, multiplication, division, and attribute dependency. These are 5 important techniques they have identified based on so many products that has been already are there in the market. From almost like 50 years they have taken a product, and how each product came into the new innovation. So they compiled all those things and they identified that there is a pattern in which the innovation happens. So those patterns are combined together and they are providing us as a tool for coming up with the inventive solutions, inventive solutions, or systematic inventive thinking. They call it as like that. So the first one is the subtraction. So what happens in subtraction is you take any product. For example, if you take mango juice, let us assume mango juice, then eliminate core component or one of the services of that one, and then what it means is the elimination of a core component rather than an addition of a new systems and functions. So if you take cycle and you remove one of the wheel, so where we can use that one? So that is called subtraction. Most important part or one of the part or the component of that product or services, you remove it, and whatever is left behind, you think of where it can be used. Is it feasible? Some questions like this, which will help us to come up with the new innovations. The second one is task unification. I will give a lot of examples for all these 5. It will be more clear to you. Okay? Task unification. Task unifications means the assignment of a new task to an existing resources. It may be internal or it may be external. Okay, any element of the product or its vicinity within the manufacturer's control. That's why we call it as a closed one. Then the third one is multiplication. This is called multiplication technique, where they say introducing a slightly modified copy of an existing object into the current system. And then the division of a product and or its components and rearranging them in time or in space, thus adding a degree of freedom. And then the last one is the attribute dependency, the creation, removal of a symmetries or dependency between existing product and environmental variables. That we will see. You will understand this when we talk about some examples. So there are some products that I highlighted here on the screen. The first product is the backside of the wheel has been removed, right? The second product is, this is a soup sachet where soup powder is there, but something else is missing from here. This is a contact lens. Something has been removed from here. And this is a chair which is used in hospitals or some other special applications where the legs have been removed. So if you observe closely, here wheel is subtracted, here water is removed, subtracted, here the frames of the glass has been removed, subtracted, and the legs has been removed. So these are all the products which came out of a subtraction technique. If you go back here, the first one, the elimination of a core component rather than is there any questions? Okay. So this is an example of subtraction techniques. I will go to the next. So what is subtraction? Subtraction means it may be a fully or partially. So what you have to do is, suppose if you want to do some innovation or incremental innovation for your product, let us assume a mouse or a notebook or a pressure cooker. First, list all the components and select a component and remove it either fully or partially or diminish it. Visualize the resulting concept. Ask what are the potential benefits, markets, and values of the remaining part only. Okay. Replace the component with something available in the closed world, and again ask the question potential benefits, markets, and values. Finally, you check for the visibility. So if I go back here, yes. So here is an example of where I hope many of you have seen. This is a fan, bladeless fan. This is coming from a company called Danfoss, I think. Okay, so here there is no blades are there, but air is coming from all over the circumferential area. Okay, so they removed the blade. When you think about fan, automatically something comes into your mind that it should have some blades, but it has been removed. Here is an example of umbrella. Some part of that umbrella cover has been removed so that it makes little more visibility for the person. So there definitely in each case there is a value addition. Without value addition, there is no innovation. And then there is a third point example called fabric. So many of you may be using a product called Comfort, cloth conditioner. After washing, you will add a little bit of that comfort to have the good fragrance. So these products came after using subtraction technology only. I mean, they followed this process and came up with this. That's the reason I am putting these examples here. So this is the best example. What I would say is they went like this. A liquid detergent has a binder, a fragrance, and a chemical for removing the dirt, or it is called detergent. So this is the components of a detergent liquid. So they use a subtraction technique to remove one of the part. That is, they remove the main part of detergent only. What is left is the binder and the fragrance. So what happened is it sold like anything in the market. I think even most of us, I use this, may not be different from a different company, but the same. It comes from, I think, Surf Excel kind of a company. So they removed the most important component of that product or the service. They come up with a new product. So what is interesting here is that for any organization, if they want to do innovation, right, they cannot, even small organization or large organization, they will think multiple times if they require to invest a lot of money. But here, there's nothing else. Just they have to remove from something already existing and just do the marketing. That will help. So this has sold and increased their sales multiple times, and now it is being copied by many other companies, and it is available in the market in India also. Earlier, it was done in the USA. This is one of the example of a subtraction technique. This is again another technique, same technique used by Philips. So earlier, if you have seen about 20 years back, when you have a CD player or the cassette player, there will be one more screen here, small screen, which will tell that which song is being played, what is the time remaining, how much time it will take for completion, all those details used to come. But what they did is they used a subtraction technique and used the closed world details. What happens is that when you have a DVD player, you definitely attach this to a TV, right, or a screen. So that screen itself will act as a screen which is there on this DVD player. So they just removed the screen here and passed it on to the function onto the TV. So what happened? It became very slim and compact, which is a value addition to the product. So they removed a lot of other buttons and other things, and it becomes so slim. So they sold it as a what is called slimline Q series DVD. May not be available right now in the market because the technology has changed, but it sold like anything when it was first introduced because they used the subtraction technique. So again, one more very interesting statement I read somewhere. You know you have achieved a performance in design when you have nothing more to add, but when you have nothing more to take away from that. Means the lower the number of components or the services, then the more useful the product will be. This is another example of a subtraction where they have cut the glues. Only glue is available only for this point, which can be used in multiple ways. These are called restes and is patented by a company in restes USA, and it is selling it in a very large quantities. Then the second second technique is called the task unification. Task unification is a process where you assign one more task for the existing component or services of a product or service. What it means is that select a list all the components of a product, select a component, assign it an additional task, choose an external component and use it to perform a task that product accomplishes already. Wikipedia. Many of we have seen Wikipedia is built by the user, not by the owner of that one, right? So they assigned a little small amount of work to every user. Sometimes you might have seen whenever you want to register somewhere, you have to add a captcha, right? QRP, WXY, something will come. Sometimes there will be a small image of a text which you need to enter. You know what is that actually? Actually, the person is getting the work done from you. The captcha that you enter every time when you see a picture of a text, right? So that is a part of some of the storybook or something which they want to digitize. Actually, what it means is somebody has scanned the book. They don't have the soft copy. They want to make it as a digital version of that. So what is they partly take it and put it everywhere. So whoever want to register or somewhere, anywhere in the registration, in any of the service provider, when you enter CAPTCHA, actually you are doing a small amount of work for them, converting a hard copy into a text, digital text copy. Nowadays, the technique has changed because we have a visual, visual readable format or whatever is the next level of technology came. But most of the work has been done by the user just by entering the CAPTCHA. Second example is choose an internal component and make it to do a new or extra work. Eatable cup holder, the tea holder, whatever tea cup what we use, after drinking the tea, we can eat the cup. It is made up of a kind of a biscuit or something like that. Choose an internal component, make it a perform external component. Means what it means? Employees can do a marketing. So whenever they go, they will be employees. All the employees wearing a t-shirt of a company, they are actually doing the marketing of the company also. So internal components are doing the external work. So the process is same, select any component and assign a new task. So what we can do is, if you see some of the examples here, so there is a handrest here, but they have added a pad to this so that it becomes a writing pad. Existing component, a small modification to that will have a big impact the way it is being used. Only one, this is called a French knife or something. Only one, instead of only one, there are multiple number of uses. The same mobile phone can be act as a bank. I already discussed many other activities it can do. Phone is not just a phone now. It has become much more than what we thought earlier. One more example here, kids are playing. I don't know what is this play called, but it rotates. When they rotate, they are also filling the tank here. They are actually acting as a pump. They are pumping the water which is sent to the small village here where they are playing. This is a cup that we already discussed. It can eat. And also the same faucet, but one side you will get hot water and cold water. That is the task unification for the same faucet. This is another very interesting example. When you play tennis, so many times the ball will fall down and you have to pick it. But what they have done is that at the rim of the that racket, they have put a Velcro so that you can lift the ball. That is the one more task unification example. Then comes the multiplication, which is very interesting. So multiplication, what happens? You take one of the component, first list all the components, select a component and make a copy of that. Okay, then you can make a small changes to that color, size, whatever it is. Then you can use it in a different way. So I can show you some examples here. Some of you may have seen a, turbocharger. Instead of there is only one volute, there are multiple volutes, but there is a significant value addition because of using two volutes. People who are not from mechanical background may not understand at this point of time. I have some other examples for them to have a look at multiplication technique. Okay, so here, yeah, here you can see instead of only one umbrella, there are two umbrella. What they did is they took a component of this, one of the component, that is this umbrella, and multiplied it into two. So it becomes like this, which has a very it has a value addition. Instead of only one razor, there are multiple razors, right? Just to take one component and make a copy of that and see, is it adding value to it? Okay. Then earlier you might have seen there is something called picture in picture. So here the main person will be talking and there is some additional information is given here. So if you see very around 25-30 years back, whenever cricket match used to happen, here they will show the fielder, and here they will show runners are running between the wickets here, right? So the same component picture is there, and they made a copy of that, but it is a smaller size copy, just a multiplication of the existing component or the product. This bunker bed is another excellent example. Same bed, but multiples, 1, 2, 3, like that. So this is a double-sided sticker. Earlier, the sticking chemical is applied only one side, but now they apply it on the both sides. Just copied it onto the other side also. This means just a multiplication of the existing component or the services. Similarly, in a compressor wheel, we have a main blade and also the small splitter blade, but that adds a significant value for its performance. Okay. I hope you are able to follow what I am saying about all these different techniques. So all of you have seen multiple, in a refrigerator, we have a very cold, light cold, and freezer, and all those different components. It's just a multiplication of the existing single box into multiple box. Then this is another example where this product came into picture only because of using this technique. What it does is that if you want to, if you have seen people who are making bathrooms and all, they need a slope towards the what is that, drain. 1 degree or 1.5 degree or 2 degrees slope is required depending upon the requirement. So what happens is generally they use a measuring rule. I don't know what it is called. I forgot what it is. So instead of this one having only one indicator of level, it has multiple levels. I mean, one will show horizontal, the another will show 1 degree, the third one will show 2 degrees. So definitely it will be so useful for the person who is doing that work. What technique they use? They use the multiplication of the level indicator to not only flat, but also 1 degree and 2 degree in that way. So this is a very good, excellent application of the multiplication technique. Then we have something called attribute dependency. Attribute dependency is finding a new relationship between the two totally unrelated parameters. So the process goes like the same. List the variables, assign a variable column and rows, fill in the tail based on the current market dynamics, fill up in the, there are more details, but when I give the examples, you will be able to understand it more. So I'll go to the example here. So earlier I talked about the dominoes, which is an example of how they related the sales of the pizza to the time of its delivery. So earlier there were those two relationships was not there, but now they are able to build a relationship which eventually helps in the sale of the pizza. Second one is the cup. You might have seen these are available in the market right now. If it is the content inside this cup, milk or tea or water, if it is hot, it shows hot here. When it becomes cool, automatically it will show as a cool. So they built the new relations between the temperature of the content and the color of the cup. So new relationship has been built between these two parameters, but it has a significant value. Definitely it has a significant value. Here is another example. You might have seen a day and night goggles. If it is sunlight is very high, solar insolation is high, then the shade of that glass will be high, so that it give a cooling effect to the eyes. So they built a relationship between the shade of the glass and the sun's intensity. Okay, so here is an example. Most of you are able to see Einstein on your screen, but if you go little backward or come little front, or your close your eyes fast and open it again fast closely, then you will see something else. Can you able to tell me what is that? Are you able to see something else apart from Einstein? So you will see an actress, Marilyn Monroe. Okay, so what they did is they built a relationship between the person who is looking and the rate at which he is looking to the what is there in the image. So this is an excellent example of attribute dependency. So one more example here. There is a kind of a mark on the packet which tells the freshness of the fruits inside. If it is too old, then the color will be different. If it is fresh, then it will be a different. So this is a kind of a sensor. So they built a new relationship between the freshness of the fruit or the content to the color of this packet. So this is a very good value addition. Without a much deeper looking into that, we can say whether it is fresh or not. So this is another technique called attribute dependency. So how do we come up with this relationship? Is that suppose we have a simple chair. So what are there in the control of the manufacturers? Height, shape, firmness, weather, resistance, price, and all these are all the which are under the control of the manufacturers. What is not is in control: climate, delivery time, time in use, user, and setting. So once you put these parameters onto the paper and try to assign a new relationship, shape, and then the user, then you can come up with the different shapes, right? These flexible shapes. So this is very easy to think. So all these 5 techniques, what we'll do is that it will help us to think in a right direction a little faster. If you go through the brainstorming, then it becomes so large that you will lose control of what's happening. But if you use these 5 techniques: multiplication, attribute dependency, subtraction, other 2 things, then what happens? Your direction of thinking and creating a new product from the existing product will help, or you go with a much faster rate. So that is the reason why large organization wants to have these kinds of innovations in their product, because they will not spend much time. They can use the existing resource. The funds required for that new product or new innovation is considerably lower. Okay. Then one more example is the division, which I should have talked before that. So division means here you take a product or a service and divide it. Division means how functionally you can divide, physically you can divide. Functionally means rearrange its location or when it appears. The best example is that landing gear of an aeroplane. Landing gear comes out only when it is supposed to land or take off. Otherwise, it will not be there, right? Physically cut, you make it into half and rearrange them. And preserving, divide into a smaller pieces, and with each piece still possesses all the characteristics of the whole. And then you see whether it can be fit in a any of the market segment. The best examples of division is you are using in Facebook. Friends means friends, all are friends. But there was a product called Google Circles. It failed in the market and they have removed, stopped it. But still, it has a concept of something called division. In Google Circle, what used to happen is there are different kinds of friends: acquaintance, closed friends, family friends, like that. So you could have a different circle of your friends. So that was there in that one, in Google Circles. Then another example of division is TV and remote. Earlier, all the functions are there on the TV. Now it is in your hand, TV and remote. The best example I can give for division is the propulsion and lift. If you look, the inspiration for the flight is from the birds. But the interesting thing about bird is that both the propagation or the motion in the front direction as well as the lift is provided by the wings only. But somebody, Wright brothers were able to divide that into two, means propulsion is given by the engine and lift is given by the wings. That made a significant difference, and we could put that into a concept, into the concept of division of innovation. Okay. Kitchen with a separate cooling towers, advanced booking in division. Advanced booking is nothing but division in time. Earlier what we talked is a division in space. Here we are talking about a division in time, so that you can have a much more you can take a much more informed decisions when you have advanced booking. Steering system, direction by the driver, turning by the hydraulic system. They divided. Earlier buses, if you see, the driver used to struggle a lot because he is manually putting all the power to change the direction. Now it is not like that. Third one is, some more examples are SaaS, software as a service, centrally connected gas pipelines for store, multi-axle bus, sachet and shampoo, swappable battery. Now battery electric vehicles are coming and there could be a swappable battery also. So this is a division in space. Jeans pant with the full zip, speaker with left and right. This is a physical division in physical. So these are some of the other examples of division. One more best example that I have seen is the M-seal. There are two chemicals in this one. Only when they both are combined, then it will get hardened. Otherwise, they are not hardened. So they are physically separated. Only when it is required, you just combine both two, and then it becomes a solid hard part. So the whole discussion what we had can be put into one simple chart here. There is an existing product or solution or service. Then there are 5 thinking tools: subtraction, task unification, division, multiplication, and dependency. Then we have a virtual product. Then you think about some filters like market filter. Should we do it or not? Market will, it is needed or not? What is that we can do for that? All those things, and then we do this iteration. It's called functions, and then the form. Okay, then the new idea will be arrived, or the innovative product will be arrived. So by following this process, what has been observed is that we will arrive at a new product at a much faster rate than what otherwise we would be doing using the brainstorming sessions. Okay. So here is an example of a faucet where instead of having only one pipe, there are multiple, so that it will create more circulation and the lesser amount of water is used for cleaning the commode. Here is an example of, you have to tell me what is this example. Instead of having only one scent, there are 2 scents. Means half an hour this scent will come, next half an hour this scent will. These are used in the big offices and homes also, where you want to have a fragrance. Slight fragrance will be there at all the time in home. So this is a multiplication technique. Same box, just multiply, but fill it with a different scent there. So here we have here instead of having a same light, here we have slightly that the light's direction will change depending upon the way the driver is moving his handle or the steering wheel. So they found a new relationship between the light direction and the motion of the direction. Okay. So what I did is how do we do is that, suppose if we take an example of a notebook, we have what notebook is a product. So what we have is, in notebook we have a paper, we have end hard covers, then the binder and the brand, right? These are all the 4 parts of the notebook. Then we can apply subtraction, division, multiplication, task unification, attribute dependency. But if you look into closed world of notebook, closed world means what? Along with notebook, what are the other things that we use? Generally what we use along with notebook, we use pen and pencil, eraser and pad, right? So these are another some of the closed world thinking of the notebook. These are close relatives. So then what we do is we will try to subtract some of the components, and you can see a lot of new products can be done. I have not shown the entire thing here because it is something which is proprietary to for us. So a lot of things can be done like this. So similar example is the pressure cooker. What are the pressure cooker contains? It has a container, it has a lid, weight, seal and gasket, handle and racks. But I could also add some more closed world items here, which will become too large for this slide, so I have not added. Then you try to apply each techniques: subtraction, multiplication. Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so what we have did is just list all the components and use these techniques to see is there any benefit, is there any value in doing so. Okay, so here is an example of flow of grains in the curved pipes. What happens? The many times this pipe will get erosion here. So we have to find a solution for that. How should we stop erosion of this pipe because of flow of this sand grains or whatever. Water is there, but sand grains is also there. So one of the solution what they talk about in this book is having a slightly modified pipe where you initially you put some amount of that problem there itself. So automatically that will solve the problem. So what the outcome, what I would like to highlight here is that any product that you think of, it will be copied by somebody else in the world. No matter how good it is, whatever patent, whatever you do, still it will be copied by someone else. So the trick is in making science and technology or service into an art. I hope the discussion was useful to you. And if you have any questions, please ask me. I think I took 5 minutes more than what I supposed to. I am happy to answer your questions. Viresh, Vijay, any questions on this?
We'll have a question answer session for
Okay.
2 minutes. Participants, if you have any question or any doubts, resource person is available.
Even you can give the feedback also. Like, did you like the overall presentation? Is it adding any value to the time that you have spent here?
Sorry, sir, in feedback form we have
Okay.
kept that one, sir. In feedback form we
Sure,
can
sure,
give the
sure. Yeah.
suggestions.
Any questions that I'll be happy to answer your questions.
We'll wait for 30 seconds, sir.
Yeah.
I request Professor Gurraj Gaur, sir, to present the vote of thanks.
Well, uh, very good afternoon to all. I, Gurraj Gaur, feel privileged to be a part of this one-day international webinar and to express a vote of thanks. So first of all, I would like to thank BID management, principal, and HOD for their kind support. And next, I would like to thank Mr. Santosh B for his valuable and wonderful one-day webinar on innovation in large organizations. Really, his words are motivational and are going to guide us in the near future. Next, I would like to thank Dr. Viresh Bhavi, convener of this one-day international webinar. So last but not the least, I would like to thank all the participants who have actively participated in this one-day international webinar. And please fill the feedback form to receive your certificate. Thanks one and all.
Thank you, and have a wonderful day ahead. And I request all of you to please read that book called Inside the Box, which has much more details than what I have already talked. That will help you, especially for the final year engineering students and MTech students or PhD students, to come up with a new product with a minimal resources and funds for that. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All of you, please fill the feedback form, and it will take only one response. So please fill it carefully. I'm again posting the feedback link in the chat section. Those who have missed. Okay, sir. So thank you one and all the participants. It is because of you people this webinar has become a huge success, and we expect same type of support from you participants in the near future also. Thank you, sir, and thank you, madam.
Shiva, same phone number. Same number. Your number. Last 165 number. 86184. 86184 21865.
Anand sir. Anand sir. Anand sir. ಈಗ ಎಲ್ಲನೇ ಹಂಗ